human every night, human at the start, human at the night. Everything begins and you gotta know it ends. Appreciate the moment, enjoy it with friends. Everything we do is everything we learn. Pass it to each other, expand in the world. Focus on the happy, the smiles and the heartbeats. Taking longer strides, holding hands where the road meets, yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Amazing People. And I am your host, Maggie Reed, along with my co-host, Chris Reed, my husband.
Hello, hello.
And we are honored today to have one of the most amazing people I've met in this last year, Ryan Shead. I know Ryan Shead from being on TikTok and doing my other show, Friday Night Highlights with him. And I have grown to respect and adore him more than you can imagine. I think that what he's doing right now and moving forward with his life and where he's going is amazing, and he's making a difference in the world. So welcome, Ryan Shead. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Gosh, what don't you already know about me?
Well, why don't you start out just talking about your platforms and kind of go into that. And I will interject real quick. One of the reasons why Ryan Shead is on this show, one of the reasons, because he's amazing in many ways, but one of the reasons is because he is going into politics himself right now. And that is something I admire so much. Someone that's not just walking the walk, but they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk. And I think it's really amazing. So Ryan, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. And it's an honor to be your first guest, especially since you were my first guest on Ryan Rants. So that's awesome.
It goes both ways.
And it's so nice to finally get to meet Chris. I know we've kind of interacted and stuff, so it's nice to finally meet you, man. About myself, let's see. You may not know I grew up in Michigan, in Royal Oak. I was raised by my dad, and I had a pretty normal childhood for the most part. Normal divorced family, it was just me and my old man. And I was there until I was 21, and then I went in the military, and that changed my life forever. I remember I got my first orders, and it was to go to Japan. Wow. And I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay in like Florida, which is where my tech school was. And my dad told me, he says, if you don't take these orders, it'll be the worst mistake of your life. And so, thankfully I listened to him, and I said, okay. And I just took the orders and I went, and I ended up getting stationed over there for 2 years. And it was some of the best 2 years of my life. And that's where I could learn how to work on aircrafts. That's where I made some lifetime friends. And it just drove my life into the direction that it went for a long time, both as a public servant and as an aircraft mechanic. So that's really how I ended up here. I ended up having a couple health issues that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit, and that forced me to have to shift my career a little bit. Yeah. And as I started going through that process of shifting my career, and when I say shifting, I mean I got fired because I couldn't do it anymore. You just have to really step back, take a look. And through that, I didn't like the way the system had treated me and my family. I'd been denied unemployment. I got denied Social Security when I couldn't work. I got denied everything. And so here I was, my wife and I had both served our country. Life kicked us pretty hard. And when we were down, and the system that we had paid into for decades, right, didn't step up to take care of us. Yeah. And that in turn, made me go into debt, lost my car, all this stuff. And I just took a step back, and I'm like, man, if it's this hard for me, and my wife, then imagine how hard it is for people that don't have the military benefits, don't have all the things that we do. Yeah. And that was really when I kind of started, I got mad. And one day my wife just looked at me, she's like, well, what are you going to do about it? You're going to keep complaining? And I was like, no, I'm going to run for office, because this isn't the way the system's supposed to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really how I ended up here. It's been a long road, both with my mental health, with having to change my careers, with everything, but all of that, I think, is what's going to make me, a really good public servant, politically, because I've been down that road. I've been directly affected by these programs that these legislatures are influencing, and
Can you touch on, I want to know one thing real quick. How long were you actually in the military for?
4 years.
4 years,
and
then,
okay. I'll tell this story because it's a story that not many people know, and that's what your show's about.
Absolutely.
Because at some point this is going to come out, because as I run for office, it's going to come out. So I got discharged under a hardship discharge. And the reason was because I was about 3 months, let me see, February, March, April. I was actually 2 months away from fulfilling my 4 years. I had already told them that I wasn't going to re-enlist because my dad was sick. And so I was going to go home and help him. He over that Thanksgiving of 2006, he told me, I discovered how bad the cancer and everything was. So I got to go home, spend that last Christmas with him, Christmas of 2006. And then I turned 25, December 22nd. And then I lost him January 3rd. And the part that sucked the most about it was that I had been communicating with the military the whole time. The doctors had sent him letters or sent them letters saying, that he's within weeks, like he's not going to make it. He's terminal, like, he doesn't have anybody take care of him, like let his son stay home. And they basically were like, if you're not back here by December 30th, we're going to send MPs to your house and we're going to bring you back. And so my dad was like, I was like, well, I was like, I'm not going back. I was like, I'm not going back. I'm like months away from getting out, whatever. And my dad said to me, he goes, you're no good to me in jail. So he was like, go. And I went down there, and the kicker for me was, I think President Ford died. I think it was President Ford that weekend. And so we ended up having a 3 or 4 day weekend, once I got back to Georgia, and he died January 3rd, my first day back. So it was just, it was not the way I wanted to end my military career. And,
of course not.
But it is what it is. And I moved on from it. But, I learned a lot. Because of what the military gave me is why I have a lot of what I have now. So I'm not complaining about that. It was just.
But that's also extremely, heartbreaking that, you were there and you were in that moment and then you had to leave, with your dad's permission. It's like,
yeah,
and I'm sorry.
I had my best friend there that day, thankfully. He had flown in from California because he was fairly close with my dad too. And, luckily I had him there because I got in the car. I remember going to the airport to go back to Georgia, and I got in the car and I looked him dead in the face and I said, that's the last time I'm going to see my dad. And he just kind of nodded, like, we both knew. And it was just getting on that airplane was one of the hardest things I ever did.
Yeah, so hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's those moments that I think turn us into, the fighters that we are, to fight. Well, I mean,
absolutely. Those are defining moments.
Those are defining moments. And, that's something that, fighting for, any kind of cause or fighting for people, maybe getting a little bit more leeway in the military when it comes to having, sick family members. I myself had, a sick mother growing up, and I can't imagine if someone denied me that kind of, moment. So I'm sorry about that, Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Just like Chris said, in retrospect, looking back, I do think God was looking out for me and that it happened the way it was supposed to, because I was really close to my dad. He was my support.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think he would have been able to let go as peacefully as he did in the end had I been there. And
Sure.
and I have struggled so much with losing him that I can't imagine having that in my brain too. So I think in a weird way, not being there to watch him pass was a blessing for me, because it probably would have made it 10 times worse for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to get over it.
For sure. These are definitely super defining moments. I mean, you seem very open to be, honest about things.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you're willing to discuss your mental illness and how it's impacted you and how it impacts you, and also not only how it impacts you, but how it impacts your perspective when you're doing all these things that you do.
That's a good question. I'm very open about mental health. I don't mind talking about it. I think it's important that we talk about it. And specifically, I remember when I was diagnosed bipolar, I was officially diagnosed bipolar in 2018. and I had started I was in the middle of losing everything, and I had started thinking about running for office. And one of the first thoughts I had when I was diagnosed was, I can't tell anybody. I can't tell anybody about this because it'll ruin my career. It'll ruin it before it even starts. And not only that, but at the time I had a security clearance. Well, I still do. But I had a secret security clearance. So because of that, I was afraid to tell the people I worked with. I was afraid to talk about it because what if they took my clearance away? Then I'd definitely lose my job. It's just all these things that I saw in the system that doesn't help people with mental health, and it not only does it not help, but it doesn't allow us to talk about it.
Absolutely. So, in general, in society, there's such a stigma around
such a stigma. And then like employers, it's like, do you want to hire somebody who's open about being bipolar? It doesn't matter that you're medicated and you've got it under control. They just see this potential problem. They see this potential person that's not going to show up to work or whatever it is. And so they just don't want to deal with it. So they go to the person that's hiding it, and doesn't have it under control. And then they end up with a worse employee than the person who, takes their meds and has it under, it's just all this stuff that, like, I think you said earlier, that it's given me this perspective that I just didn't have before. So I was diagnosed bipolar in 2018. And when I had been getting treated since 2016. In 2016, that was about the time my wife said, look, thank you, Simon. Love you. That was when she said, hey, something's wrong. Like, you need to go talk to somebody because this isn't normal. And it was literally costing me my marriage, for the second time. So, luckily I listened, and literally the next week I went to the VA and said, look, I need mental health treatment. They got me in within a week. So, even though the VA hospital has not always been the best friend of mine, they did get me in quickly, thankfully. And I ended up getting, I can't express how lucky I was with the doctor I got in Virginia. Both doctors.
Okay. Awesome.
They didn't give up on me. They kept pressing me, making me do the work, making me, figure out what was going on. And I think for anybody listening that's dealing with it, be honest with your therapist up front. Don't try to hide it. Don't try to lie to them. Don't try to play the game like, oh, I'm fine. No, that's not why you're there. You're there to figure out why you're having the issues you are. And the sooner that you're honest with them, like really honest, like dead, like that's the person you need to be the most honest with, besides probably your spouse. Be honest with them and let them help you.
I think honesty is the biggest key. And I don't mean to interrupt you. I really want to highlight that word honesty, because it's, yes, honesty with your spouse. Yes, honesty with anyone that you're getting help from. But, before that, even I think a lot of people struggle with being honest with themselves. Realizing what's actually going on. And sometimes we have no idea what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I didn't.
I mean, it's confusing. It's intense. Sometimes we don't have a word for what we're feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's so important. And it's beautiful to see the bravery that you have, going through this. And it's really nice to hear your journey.
Well, it's inspirational because, it just goes to show, though, that, if you take accountability for your actions and you take accountability for who you are as a person, the sky's the limit. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think more people need to hear, is that not hiding who you are and being upfront and being honest and, taking control of your life can be one of the most powerful things that somebody can do.
It is.
And I totally, I think it will only help you in your, career moving forward in politics, because this is the kind of stuff that people need to hear. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff that the world needs to hear, America in particular. Like Chris said, the word stigma. There's a stigma against being open and honest, but the statistics out there show that there is a lot of people out there with undiagnosed, mental problems, and because they're afraid to come forward. And so I think it's so brave, and I think it's so awesome that you're talking about it, and you talk about how you control it with medication, which is super important too.
Yes.
And I think that's really awesome.
And I just want to end this part on this. When they finally figured out everything, in 2018, and like I said, I was very blessed with awesome doctors when I was in Virginia. They tracked it all the way back to 2004. Like I was in the military when I had my first bipolar episode.
Oh, wow.
And they called it adjustment disorder because I had only been in for like a year or so at that point. And so they're like, well, he's having issues adjusting to military life. That's what they wrote in my medical record. So as they started going back and started tracing it from that day all the way forward, they're like, that was one of your first known episodes. And I was 22 and it just progressively got worse all the way to 2018, and like you said, you don't necessarily know you're dealing with it. You don't know what you're dealing with until you start, playing with it and like Chris said, doing that reflection and knowing that something's off.
Yeah, and seeing those patterns and stuff. It's so brave that you did that and that you're so willing to share this with people.
Well, your 20s are such an interesting time too, right? Because you're really
that's a good word.
Interesting, right? I mean, you're coming into your own as an adult, but you're still like not an adult. Your brain isn't really formed in the beginning, and you're just still, running through the motions, trying to figure out, what to do with your life, where to go, what to do, who to be, and all new feelings are confusing, and so being able to recognize that something's going on at an early age is probably even more difficult, right?
It is. And two, I'm going to tell you, again, we're spending a lot of time on mental health, which is fine. The thing that I think hurt me figuring out what was going on is that for years I wrote it off as mourning my dad, because after, I was 20, like you just said, when you're 20s, you're still very formative, you're still very malleable as an individual. And losing him at 25, I just still to this day feel like I lost out on a lot of guidance that I needed, especially in my late 20s, that I just didn't have, because nobody has been able to replace that for me. And I don't think anybody ever will. And it sucks. But because of that, I really do wonder, and I've said this to my wife, I wonder where I could have been if I would have had, parents that helped guide me in my 20s and even in my early 30s, helped me figure out that I was having mental health issues. Or maybe I knew more about my family history and knew that this was a family issue that I didn't know about. All these things go through my head, that it just sucks, but our 20s are interesting. Like you said, between getting out of the military, losing my dad, I was divorced by 29. My mental health really messed with my life for a long time before I got it under control.
But it seems to me that you are the type of person that has learned a lot from your experiences. And you take and that's I think what all we can hope for in life is to learn from our experiences and take what we can, the good and the bad, and move forward.
Yep.
Speaking of moving forward, I want to talk. No, I
good
definitely
transition.
She's so smooth.
Aren't I good, guys? I try my best. I want to start talking about you running for office now. Kind of what. You kind of touched on it before, but what was the moment that you were like, I am doing this now? And then what is your driving force going forward with this? And we'll talk about the office that you're running for, where you are, and kind of plug that for people.
Yeah, no. So I'm in Arizona. I'm in the Tucson area. And more specifically, I'm running in District 9 for the State House Representative. When I first started, I had, and to be fair, when I first kind of really started this, I was in a little bit of a manic episode. And when you're in a manic episode, you can you feel like you're Superman and you can do anything. So I was like, I'm going to run for Congress, like Ann Kirkpatrick's seat, like Lauren Boebert. And, but I really, as I started getting into learning about the politics, learning about running, what the responsibilities were, I realized pretty quickly that I needed to take a step back and I had a lot to learn. So, I originally I was running for city council down in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And then due to my mental health, actually, we decided to move closer to the VA hospital here in Tucson, because it's like an hour and a half drive from Sierra Vista. It just wasn't making sense. So we moved here to Tucson, and the perfect opportunity opened up for me. And the city council was a great opportunity, but I realized quickly after kind of getting into it that wasn't enough for me. It wasn't going to make enough of an impact for me. And spending 2 or 4 years there, it just felt like it wasn't going to help where I wanted to go.
You needed to get you wanted to get your hands even more dirty. I get it.
Yeah. And I wanted, I wanted the position that I had to be able to reach more people, and I wanted it to be more effective on policy, statewide. And then as things, we were talking a little bit in the green room about, the Arizona audit and all of that. As all of these things have unfolded here in Arizona, it has just become more and more evident to me that not only do I want to be a public servant for the people of my district, but they need me. Like,
absolutely,
they need me up there, because there's just too many people up there trying to dismantle our entire state right now. From voting rights to LGBT healthcare to trying to circumvent the Proposition 208 that we voted for, the people voted for, to fund education. They're trying to find ways around that, and pretty successfly, might I add.
Yep. God forbid we educate our children.
Yeah,
man.
God forbid people actually, but that's a whole different story. That's what they want. But yeah, it's women's rights. Thank you, Jenny. We just have a lot to fix, and I'm enjoying getting to know some of the people. The perfect opportunity opened up. Dr. Randy Fries is the seat that I'm going to be going for. And he termed out and is now going for Ann Kirkpatrick's seat, our congressional district here. So I'm supporting him right now and hoping that he wins the primary and is going to be our candidate, because he's been a great public servant here in District 9. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing what he brings, and I look forward to, stepping into his shoes and keeping LD9 blue in 2022.
Yes. And I'm so here for it. I think you wanted to ask a question, Chris?
Love it. Yeah. So tell us about your motivations behind doing all this. Like, you've talked about it a lot, but like, what are the really personal ones that, motivate you on your hardest days, where you're like, this is why I'm doing it. This is what I have to remember.
Man, that's a good question. I think, besides the evident, my kids, my family, I honestly, one of the things that keeps me going is you guys. My Twitter account, primarily, when I go on there and I post stuff, having the support that I do online, it's just, there's something about it that keeps me going. When I post that I'm having a bad day, or I post something negative, like, people jump in and they're like, hey man, it's okay. Keep fighting tomorrow. You'll be okay. Like, they start throwing my own stuff back at me, hey, much love, keep fighting, man. You'll be okay. And it's just awesome. Those, realizing that there are a lot of people that see what I'm trying to do and see my true intentions, that keeps me going. Seeing the people, the communities, especially here in Arizona, but more broadly, the United States, seeing the communities that are not being represented right, that's killing me. Knowing that more white people that look like me need to stand up and say, white privilege is real in this country, and we need to recognize that and start fixing it. These Black folks and the Latinos and all these, they're not asking for much. They're asking for equality. They just want to be treated the same as we treat each other. Like, it's really not that difficult. But unfortunately, it's taking massive movements because of the hate, because of the opposition. And I just can't sit on the sidelines anymore, having 2 Black children, because I don't have white children. I have Black children. Yeah. And knowing what they're going to experience in life, it's one of the reasons I keep them as shelters that I do now. I want them to know that the one place they're always going to be loved is home. If you're getting bullied, whatever, like, you're always loved at home. You're needed. You're wanted. All that.
And their daddy is out there trying to make the world a better place for them.
Right.
Correct?
You let daddy handle it, and you just be a kid. And
you put on that cape and you get to work, right?
Yeah, man. Well, that's how they see it. But
good.
Man, it's everybody else, man. I've been a public servant since I was 21. I don't know any other way to be, man. Like, everything that I have done since 21 in one way, shape, or form in my career has been for this country. And It's just something in me, I guess. It's in my wife. It's in me. Our family all together, between my family and her family, have served this country for over a century. And, it's really hard to turn your back on them.
And you know what? This is exactly why I think you are such an amazing person, because this is what this country needs more of. People that have, served their country, been in public service for as long as you have been. You know so much more than just, the regular old politician's son who's coming up and trying to, walk in daddy's shoes. You have an investment in this country. Your children are here. You are here. You've served. You've seen things. I think it's fantastic. And one thing that I want to talk about is Ryan. One of his catchphrases is Ryan's Army. And he's got a huge army behind him, supporting him through this movement and through this new job change and his run. And I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah. What do you have to say to everyone that is part of Ryan's army?
As I tell you guys all the time, I don't have a voice without you, and it goes back to kind of what Chris was saying, being as open. I tried to do the cool stuff online. You talk about having a following, having a platform. If you don't have a platform, you can't change anything.
Yeah.
If nobody's paying attention to you, you can put all the great content out there you want, So I've been very blessed to be able to build the platform that I have. But I didn't start building that platform until I started being really honest with people. Like when I started putting myself out there, that's when people started paying attention, because then it became, oh crap, I can relate to that guy. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's happened to me. Once you start putting yourself out there and people can start relating to you a little bit, and it's like, oh, that's normal. What I'm going through is normal. He's going through that.
I think that's a great piece of advice for anybody working in any industry, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like Maggie was saying earlier, it's, that honesty and being honest with yourself so that you can be honest with others and show your true self. I think that's really awesome. Also, with that mindset, what would you recommend to anybody trying to go down a similar road as you? Things that you've learned that you would like to spare them from having to learn the hard way.
Hi, Patty.
Chris is coming in with hey, brother. Chris.
We wrote the questions together. I'm the segue. It's okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Come in hard, bro.
Hi, Patty. Welcome to the show.
Patty always gets me flustered. What was the question?
Sorry, go ahead.
Potatoes.
What would you say to anyone that wants to maybe go down a similar road of running for office?
To help them learn from.
Would you tell them to run for the hills, or would you say, here, these are the things you need to do?
Okay, I'm going to start by being honest first. If you're going to get into it, have your head on right. And what I mean by that is have the conversations with your family. Make sure that they're in it with you, because it's not just you. It's going to be your family. It's going to be the people close to you. And anybody that is directly in contact with me or that I care about is under the microscope and gets nasty messages and all that. So you have to make sure that everybody's kind of on board with you, especially a spouse, parents, stuff like that. Like parents and spouses are the ones that usually get it the most for some weird reason.
Yeah.
So, make sure you have that conversation with your loved ones if you're seriously going to get into politics, because the reality is the landscape right now it's not all roses and sunshine. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of issues. January 6th is any indication. Getting into politics is probably not the safest career move right now. That being said, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Don't let anybody scare you away saying, if you can't raise enough money, if you can't do that, if Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert can end up in Congress, anybody can run for state office, for municipal, for whatever. Mm-hmm. Don't let people tell you can't do it. Don't let people tell you that you're not going to make a difference. Don't let people tell you that the things that you've experienced in life are going to prevent you from being a political or public servant, because at the end of the day, those things are what is going to make you a good public servant. The fact that you've been through the system, the fact that you know what's wrong, the fact that you've seen the things that are broken and experienced it yourself, that's what's going to make you a good public servant. So don't let anybody tell you can't.
Ryan, you need to pick up your mic. It just dropped on the ground.
Yeah.
No, that is absolutely inspirational. And I truly believe we need way more people fighting for the good, and people like you that have, we've sent Ryan a questionnaire before, and one of the things that stood out to me was that you always said, be the most prepared person in the room.
Yep.
And what does that mean to you?
It means, it means always know what you're talking about, and I think I wrote it better on the paper. You might want to.
Yeah, you did. No, you said, meaning be the most prepared, read up on everything, and don't depend on others. And I love that.
And don't depend on others to get it done for you. Yeah. There's a difference between having help and depending on others to get it done for you. But making sure that you're the most informed in the room, I really do believe that, and that's everything from talk about being on podcasts, our podcast. If there's 6 of us in a room, I'll be honest with you. I like being the one that knows the most because then I don't feel intimidated. I feel prepared, and it takes some of the nervousness away from me personally. It's not necessarily about destroying the other people in the room and proving that I'm superior anyway. It's more about my anxiety and just knowing that I'm going to be able to, keep up with the conversation no matter which way it goes.
And I think that rings true for everybody because everybody feels anxiety in a lot of situations. So it's like a beautiful piece of advice in your whole life.
But for me, it's, kind of affirming what a great politician you're going to make, because this is the kind of politician we need in our life, somebody that's prepared and educated, because it feels like right now we don't have a lot of that going on. So I applaud you for having that stance and going forward with, your run for House representative, and I think it's awesome.
And real quick before you move on, just to drive home, when I said you don't necessarily have to know everything right away, when I talk about running, that's why I'm running for state, because I have so much to learn. I'm not going into this knowing everything, but I'm going in ready to work, and I'm ready to learn. And that's going to make me a much better congressman when I finally run for that. So, all right, next.
Do you want to do this before we get to the funny?
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, so, well, actually, you know what? We'll leave off on that. I'll have him talk about all that kind of stuff in a second. Okay.
Told you it wasn't going to be a half-hour show.
It's never a half-hour show with me. I jib-jab. So, Ryan, there is something that people do not know about you. And I think this is one of the most fascinating and amazing things about you, is that you are like a professional dancer.
Yeah. No.
Can you please tell the people about your sweet dance moves and tell us what kind of dance, how long, and how you started, please?
Okay. So when I say I kind of had I grew up I had a cool childhood, this was definitely part of it. I had my two best friends in the world. I met through dancing, Jeff and James. So they gave me my 2 best friends. That's to start with. But my dad, so when I said, okay, this is going to go into my childhood a little bit. So my mom left when I was like 6. And before she left, they had gone to an Arthur Murray's and tried dancing. And my dad was so horrible that the dance instructor said, don't come back.
Oh. Are they allowed to say that at Arthur Murray? Aren't they supposed to be like?
Apparently they were in the 80s. So he, after my mom left, he became determined to learn how to dance to win her back. Now, of course, that never happened. But this dancing became such a huge part of his life that my older brother ended up raising me for quite a few years. Wow. Like, he would come home from work, he would get dressed, and he would go out, and he dated it was a revolving door of women, for quite a few years. And he didn't like watching me play baseball. He didn't like watching me play football. Like, he would drop me off and leave. Yeah. And I enjoyed doing it, but for me, it was like, I wanted my dad in the stands cheering me on. So at about 12 years old, I had this idea, and I asked him, I said, well, maybe I should just learn how to dance. And my dad just took it and freaking ran. He's like, oh, you want to dance? Cool. Like, next thing I knew, I was in this dance class with six, like I was in let's see, I was 12. So I was going into I was going in junior high, I think. Yeah. Something like that. 6th grade, 7th grade. And so I have all these like junior high and freshman and high school girls that I'm dancing with, you know, and
see, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it, man.
But I hated it at first. Like I was in that weird time where girls still had.
Says you're a fly girl, and she also wants to see your moves. I already asked him. He said he wouldn't push the chair back and do any moves.
No, you guys will have to go to YouTube for that. But so I started and I hated it. I just didn't like it, and then I started to get interested in girls and discovered that it didn't matter how goofy looking that I was going to be okay if I knew how to dance. And that's true, by the way, guys. It has served me well.
Dropping the facts here. Dropping the facts.
Yep. So I did my first competition when I was 13, and it was a ballroom competition. So I was doing foxtrot, tango, samba, cha-cha, swing, hustle. Like I was doing all the dances.
Yeah.
And I had a different partner for each one of them.
Well, look at you.
So I was, well, first off, I took first and second place in all the other ones. So I placed in all 7. And we were doing a dance. It was a group dance, and it was to Car Wash, you know.
Working at the car wash, yeah.
So we're doing a swing routine to that. And I had a red shirt on and black like jean shorts. And we had knee pads because I slid across the floor in front of all the girls.
Oh yeah.
And
yes.
So I come running off the
Please
floor.
tell me there's footage of this, by the way. And
there's footage of this.
You know what? Okay, we are not prepared for this show. This should have been everything. Now the outro.
So I come running off the floor. I'm at Cobo Hall Arena in Detroit, and I come running off the floor. Now they had the floor split off into 2 sections so that they could run 2 heats at the same time. So we weren't there all day. So I'm over on this side doing the swing. And as I'm running off the floor, they're calling my name on this side for a tango. Well, the tango, I had to be in my full suit. So I had to get out on the floor. They were going to disqualify me. So I go to grab my suit off the back of my chair, and my dance teacher grabs it by the shoulder, and she goes, "Where are you going?" I go, "I'm going to the bathroom to change." She goes, "You don't have time to change." She's like, "Put it on right here, right now." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So the girls all do a circle around me with their backs to me. My dad's standing in there helping me, and I'm sitting there changing. As soon as I drop my pants, I hear like flashes going off. I'm like, mother. So I get my pants on and my suit, and I get out there, and I was like sweating as I'm holding on to my partner, and I'm literally breathing hard because I was trying to change that fast. And we still ended up taking second. So
nice.
But
get it done.
That's amazing.
I ended up winning a crap ton of stuff with several of my dance partners, which shout out to them. You guys always made me look good. I stopped when I went in the military, and then I picked it up again 10 years later. And the first dance competition back, I remember I took first place in everything I did. And it was crazy because it had become I went into intermediate, and I hadn't competed in years. And so it was like to be able to go and jump right back in, take first, you know, in all the categories that I had entered in. Yes. It was like, man, that felt freaking good. So I danced for a few more years. And then as my back started to give out before my surgeries, the last 2 competitions I did, like I got through the competition part, but I couldn't do anything else. Like I was almost bedridden. And so I haven't really been able to dance much in the last like 4 or 5 years, but yeah, it was a cool way to grow up. I love it. I miss it.
That is so awesome. We haven't really touched on any of your kind of medical issues that you've had. Do you want to speak to any of that and what that's kind of helped you, kind of your perspective on things, and you know how it's affected your life at this point?
Yeah. So I had to have. I had 4 levels of my spine. I had 2 discs that I ended up like blowing out. Yeah. And so in January of 2018, I had to have 4 levels of my spine worked on.
Wow.
And so I was down for like 6 months from that. And then coming off, I was on FMLA for that. And then when I came off that, I lost my job. and then Jen was retiring, like literally 6 months after that. And we ended up we were living on my best friend's floor for like 4 months in Utah, when she got her new job. It was crazy. Yeah. And then we get to Utah, and it turns out that I have cancerous polyps in my colon, and I have something called Lynch syndrome, which is actually what my dad died of. And it's a genetic marker for cancer, for colon cancer. So luckily I knew that I had this marker, because my dad helped me, and that'd be a whole nother show. But I knew it. So I knew that I had to go get colonoscopies done since I've been like 26. So I went in for my somewhat yearly colonoscopy, and I had 5 polyps, and 2 of them were pretty bad. And the 2 that came back really bad, like the doctor was like it's this close to being cancer, like, and so I sent it down to my sister-in-law here in Arizona, and I asked her, so, how bad is this? And she ended up calling me back. She said, I had a colleague of mine look at it, and she's like, if you want to watch your kids graduate high school, you're going to get your colon taken out now. Yeah. And so 2 months later, I was down here in Tucson getting my colon taken out. Dr. Schlitter, thank you, love you. So I went from 2 back surgeries in 2018 to having my colon taken out in 2019. I got a job. I actually got a job offer at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base to work on the A-10s that I had to turn down, which would have completely saved my family at the time, because it was $80,000 a year plus other stuff. Yeah. I mean, it would have saved my family, like, financially.
But early detection saved your life.
Saved my life. Right. So I had to pick. So when we talk about why are you getting into politics, because I don't think people should have to pick.
Agreed.
So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I admire you for going through that and having the struggles that you've had, and also I think that's a great message to just remind people that you shouldn't have to pick between your health and your job and a place to stay. And this is exactly why Ryan is fighting the good fight, and working to better America, one place at a time.
And if I can, I just want when I talk about losing my prior career, I want to explain why. Like, doing aircraft sheet metal, I'm 6'4", 6'5" on a good day. And working on fighters, like, I was constantly bent down. I was constantly like, it's actually a very physical job. And it just got to a point where I couldn't do it. And I was going home every day, and I couldn't move. I couldn't, I couldn't play with my kids. Doctors wouldn't give me anything for the pain. I couldn't do pot because it wasn't legal. Like, it was just bad, So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to sustain another 10, 15 years of that. I just knew it. And
that was when you were in the military, was when you were working on the fighter jets, right?
So when I got out of the military, I became a federal contractor a couple years after that. So I started working on the C-5s at Dover Air Force Base. And then I left that program, went and worked in the shipyard, and I worked on the Abraham Lincoln, refurbing that for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I went and worked for 2 years at the Naval Air Station, Oceana Naval Air Station in Virginia Beach. And I worked on the F-8. I worked and ran the F-18 program there. I was a team lead. Nice. And then from there, I went and worked as a logistics engineering logistics specialist for the Navy, and we basically procured all the materials needed for full ship remodels and refurbs for 55 of the Navy ships. It was cool, and that was the last job I had. Like, I was trying to transition out from the physical aspect of it, and it just, between the back surgeries and everything, I mean, it is what it is. They had to get rid of it.
That's highly physically demanding work.
Oh yeah, the shipyard was the worst. The worst. But yeah, all of it's physically, it was physically demanding, especially when you have a bad back already and stuff. It's like, good luck.
Yeah, for sure, especially all day.
But right now, are you feeling good? How is your health right now? Good place right now?
Yeah, I'm a good place. Like, I should probably be rehabbing my back more, but I'll be honest, I start rehabbing it and then something happens and tweaks, and then it puts me down for like 4 days, and then I just don't get back on it.
He has back issues as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you understand.
Yeah. I've gotten my MRI and it tells you nothing. I mean, it tells you, but it doesn't help.
So the MRI, real quick. Yeah, we're probably not going to be in an hour. So when I got my MRI done, I had doctors literally telling me like, well, I don't know why you're in so much pain. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I am in this much pain. So can we figure it out? When they went in to do the surgery in my neck, I was actually in the operating room like hours longer than I was supposed to, and Jen started getting worried.
Yeah.
And when I came to, he explained to us that when they cut into my my C4 C5, that the disc when it did what it did, that basically it had started to form and start to encroach the main nerve on my spine. He's like, we had to take it and cut it in and peel it off of your nerve. He goes, that's why every time every time I turn my head, anything, he goes, because everything was like this on the nerve.
Wow.
So he was like, and you couldn't see it on the MRI. He's like, nobody could have seen that on the MRI. So it's just like, they can't see everything on a freaking MRI.
Absolutely.
But it all happens for a reason, and thank God you took the steps to work towards healing yourself. And
I was lucky that, because my wife was in the military, that I was able to afford to have these back surgeries. Once again, we need better healthcare.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Access, better healthcare access.
For sure. And on the positive note too, I mean, I'd love for you to tell us about your vaccinated wristbands. Tell us what that's about.
Yes. Yeah. So thanks for bringing them up. So I got my vaccinated wristbands. They're on RyanShed.net, and they're $5, and they have Ryan Army, like you guys were, Ryan Army on the other side. And I made them, I always say, I made them purple. I didn't make them blue, and I didn't make them red because I wanted to include everybody. So it's purple. And the whole reason was, I said, hey, a lot of people are like, I want to walk around and not wear my mask, but I don't want people to confuse me for a Republican. So I was like, hey, wear this wristband, and everybody will know that you're vaccinated, and you're not one of the a-holes that didn't get vaccinated and just walks around without their mask anyway. So
for sure.
Yeah.
I also want you to plug another thing that you were doing, and we have, I think, a little picture to show. You were talking about taking back the flag with Ryan Shead. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the Big Weird Mom and I, Jessica, and I will say it was probably more her idea, but I had been saying I wanted to take back the word patriot. And so we just talked one night, and she came up with the great idea of taking back our flag. So we've been working with Old Man Murphy, and he's been doing some of the designs for us. And we're gonna start a Take Back the Flag campaign over the 4th of July. And so the photo that Maggie's going to put up is actually a photo that we use. This is the Big Weird Mom. She was the model for this. So that is the Big Weird Mom right there. And so that's going to be one of our.
Good, Jess.
Yeah, she was.
All right.
Matter of fact, I'll tell you so I got all these stories. So Jess sends me, where she texts me, she's like, hey, got this idea, blah, blah, blah. Cool. So I've got my phone sitting on the counter, and me and Jen are sitting there talking, making dinner, I think it was, and she texts me photo, and it's and it's a photo of the idea. We'll just say that. Yeah. And so I open the phone, and I'm just like, oh shit, who's this hot ass? And Jen's like, who's that? And Jen's like looking over my shoulder, like, who is that? I'm like, that's Jess, honey. What do you think? And
this is the photos we text each other. Oh god.
Yeah, all the time. So then I sent it to Murphy, and Murph opens the email, and we were on the phone, and he goes, hello, Jess. Yeah, no, it wasn't an extremely provocative photo. Let's start with that. But it was something very similar to that. It was awesome. And I think Murphy did a great job taking her idea and running with it.
Let's look at it one more time. It looks great.
It's going to be a sticker. She's going to put it on a flag. We're going to sell it. And we're going to start a campaign to take back the flag. We're going to have other designs because, as I'm sure most of you are tired of, I'm tired of every time you see a flag, you get this visceral reaction, and I want that to go away. Like I said,
my family equate it with unpatriotic actions at this point.
Yes.
I think especially
that's a very nice way to put it. Yeah.
Yes. Right.
It's imperative, I think, and the flag needs to. Damn, I don't even know how to word this. Like we need the flag to represent what it's supposed to represent again. We need the flag to be honored the way it's supposed to. you know, for the people that had, like me and my wife and my family, who have fought for it. You know, like there's always been this respect surrounded around the flag, and especially if you're military. And so to be a veteran and to be one of the people who feels this way about the flag, you know, who sees it and gets this bad taste in my mouth, you know, that's what Jess and I want to fix. That's what we want this to be about. It's like, we want to put honor and meaning back into the American flag, so that people like us liberals, you know, us Democrats, independents, will want to wear the flag again, you know. And that's what we want. I'm tired of people saying liberals don't love the flag. They're not patriotic. I'm more patriotic than most of you clowns on the other side. And
Absolutely.
That's what this is about. We're going to take back our flag. I'm going to take back the word patriot.
And it's also, I think, a good reminder that, you know, we have so much to keep fighting for in America. Liberals and conservatives alike. There's just a lot that we have to fight for. And if we can unite under one thing, purple wristbands, and take back the flag, I think that's beautiful, Ryan.
And Vaxhole. We got our Vaxhole stuff.
That's the thing. I mean,
and your guys' stuff actually goes, you know, mine goes in my pocket. Yours actually goes to a good cause. So,
but you know, either way, it sends a good message. That's the whole point. And you know,
and like you said, it's about finding things that we can unify over, no matter how small, right? And I agree with you. We can't fix this alone. Meaning, we can't fix this divided. And I truly do believe that. And I truly do believe that there are good conservatives out there. You know, like, I know that we're hearing from the loudest of you, the most extreme of you. Like, I do realize that. I know that we're out here, you know, driving our points home and our agendas and everything. But at the end of the day, I know there are good conservatives out there. And I'm begging you guys to please stand with us in 2022 and fix this. What's going on in Arizona, in Texas, and Georgia, and Florida, we can't afford to let this continue. So guys, get involved. It doesn't, like, we're having Marcus Flowers on the Nikki and Ryan show on Monday, because we want to be a part of getting Marjorie Taylor Greene out of office. You know, she needs to go. And so right now we're going to have Marcus Flowers on, who, if you don't know who he is, go check him out, but definitely tune in on Monday at our normal time, because we're going to have questions for him. He's going to answer questions from people if you have them. But the whole point is, we can support candidates from all over. You don't have to just support your local candidates. If you know that there's a congressperson that we need to get rid of in Colorado or Georgia, you can still send a couple bucks to those people, because at the end of the day, politics is about money. Hate to say it, but it's about money. And if you really want to put somebody in office, send them $1, send them $5, because it's not about posting their stuff. I hate to say it. It's about getting money in the pockets so that they can win the race.
Absolutely. And with that, is there somewhere that you can tell people where they can send you money to help you in your fight to get into office?
I have to get my my campaign EIN number. I'm waiting on that, and then I'm going to have my ActBlue account set up. So I'll be begging for money real soon. Don't worry.
But we will be happy to promote you, because we are obviously on Team Ryan Army. We're here for you.
And you know, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that about covers it. But let's make sure that you do plug your platforms. Where's a good place to keep an eye on you?
The whole show's been about plugging me.
Well, you're an amazing person. We're here to plug amazing people
that are doing amazing things, and that's all.
We want people to follow you from this point on. And when you do need campaign contributions, what's a platform that they'll find information?
Well, they'll be able to. You can go to ryanshed.net, and but if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all those, you'll be seeing tons of posts about it, I'm sure. But I'll have my ActBlue account set up. You'll be able to donate from anywhere in the country very easily. And then, of course, if you're listening for some reason and you're in the Tucson District 9 area, I need your signatures just to get on the ballot. You can go to the Secretary of State, scroll down, find my name, sign my ballot. That would be outstanding. Or not sign my ballot, sign my petition. But yeah, guys, this next election is going to be really important, not just for me, but for everybody. And I think having these shows, having us on, having these public conversations about mental health, politics, life, the programs that aren't working like that, this is essential, which is why I love what you guys are doing. And again, it's been an honor to be your first guest. I can't wait to see what you guys do with the show and all the other amazing guests you're going to have on. So with that said, please go follow me on Twitter. That's where I primarily post these days, and Instagram. And of course my YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to that.
Absolutely.
And of course we have to plug Vaxhole. So if you guys don't already, get your Vaxhole stuff, because you guys what you send all the proceeds go to.
Yeah, so we're donating everything to UNICEF, and UNICEF has an effort to vaccinate 2 billion people in 180 countries.
That's awesome. So get your Vaxhole stuff too, not just the vaccinated wristband.
We'll be showing that on the outro, isn't it?
Oh well, see, I didn't know that.
I appreciate the plug, and I think it's always good. We do what we can when we can. That's kind of my motto. I've got 2 young kids, and we're working to live and living to work right now, but also we do what we can to help out. And it's very inspiring that you've taken the next step to us. And that's why we wanted you to be the first guest in the show, because taking that first step and becoming someone that's actually going to go out and change policy, going to go out and change your area, support the people that you know, and learn and become even more of the most educated person in the room. I applaud you for that. And you are truly an inspiration. And ever since I've met you, I've felt that, and I sing your praises to my husband. And I'm happy that you guys finally got to meet. So
we can't wait to see what you do, what you accomplish, man.
I know, and I hope that we can all get together one of these days.
We will.
We don't live that far from each other, I don't think.
No.
Compared to like Nikki in North Carolina.
Yeah. We're on the West Coast.
Yes, we're all on the West Coast, just freaking frying right now.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, for coming on the show. Yes. And you are truly an amazing person. And we look forward to seeing all the great things that you're doing. And definitely check out a show with Marcus Flowers on Monday, because that's amazing, you guys. Can't wait to see that. So again, thank you, Ryan. I am Maggie Reed, and this is
Chris Reed. Thanks for tuning in.
And thank you guys so much. And here is an outro about Vaxhole, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Wind on my back, sun on my shoulder. Don't need no more map to get where I'm going, 'cause wind on my back, sun on my shoulder. Don't need no more map to get where I'm going.